Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today my camera was empty of battery, so I'm sitting in this weird angle because it's charging while I'm talking. I'm gonna do my January wrap up, and I read the amount of 30 books in January. I have no idea how I'm gonna push all this in this one video. I feel ridiculously proud of myself for reading the amount of books I did, and I think I'm allowed to. I need to just get started, and I'm sorry if I'm a bit brief with some of the books because time limits. I am like in a review mood to make separate reviews for a book. If you see a book that you want me to review in more depth, tell me down below and I might actually do it. Starting off with the books that I want to talk about in this video, and that is these four here, which I read for my God of Think for Winter challenge. We have Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nagant, Legend by Maria Liu, Strange to Dreamer by Laini Taylor, and Unbroken by Wendy Spinell. Even though I read the series for Unbroken and Strange to Dreamer, so I would probably like each talk about them in this video anyway, but banana poo. The first book I read in the month of January was Everland by Wendy Spinell. I read this to read Unbroken, which is the sequel. This was a reread for me. I did sadly not enjoy it as much as the first time around. It is a Peter Pan steampunk retelling-ish with a virus and everything. I wanted to go the audiobook route for this, but it was not on Audible, but the rest of the series was. Hello. As I was reading this, there's just parts of the story that did not make sense to me. It just felt a bit meh. So when I'm on the subject, I guess I should just talk about Auslan, which I also finished this month, so I finished the whole series. Since I also will be talking about Unbroken later, this feels a bit odd, but the whole problem I had with this series is that they do so much for nothing, because characters keeps dying off page and it feels really off, and like they fight to survive, and then the characters just sort of die anyway, and there are these plot twists where characters are revealed to be alive and then they literally die off page later. It is super odd and it felt really off, but really if you don't think about too much of it, it's more like just an adventure story where like they go on a quest and then they fight the obstacles on the way. But the overall plot is super weird because, as I said, people die off page and the characters act super odd. Characters that are important in their own book, like in Unbroken there's Alice, in this one it's Wendy, who is not named Wendy, her name is Gwen. They're just like, they don't basically do shit later, they're just there, and it just feels really weird. It was a weird creative choice. That's all I'm gonna say. Overall I gave the whole series like 3 out of 5 stars because some parts were really enjoyable but some parts were odd, so it's like an average okay series for me. We then have My Hero Academia Volume 16, which I read by Kohei Horikoshi. This follows a hero school with a bunch of heroes doing things. They went on this whole mission thing in this one and it was really intense, and that's all I remember, and it ended on a cliffhanger as per usual. Really enjoying this series so far. I just want my babies to be okay. That's all. I then read Falconer by Joanna, which was an arc that I got from NetGalley, and it's basically like this fiction book. It's not YA, even though the character is teen, but that's fine. The main character is like a girl that is not like other girls. She's more like, she doesn't interested in makeup and I don't know, clothes and things like that. She likes basketball. She's not like other girls, and she's in love with her best friend, but then she realizes her best friend is an asshole, and I don't know, she's dealing with things, I guess. I can't talk about this book. I didn't hate this book, but I didn't really like feel anything reading it. I saw just raving reviews and I felt like I would like it, and I feel like there's a good book in there. It's just too smart for me or something. It was a lot of like commentary on society, I felt like, but I didn't really feel it, and I gave it like 3 out of 5 stars. Then read The Girl from the Other Side Volume 5 by Nagabe. This follows a girl named Shiva, and she lives on the outside. On the outside there's this virus thing going on with like monsters, and if you touch them you become one yourself. On the inside there are the humans. She has been living on the outside for a really long time, and we are questioning like why isn't she sick, what's going on, and there is a lot of other things going on in the story, and we are like further ahead than that now. That's like how it starts, and it just, illustrations in here are like adorable, and I read them really quickly, and it's just this mystical, dark but sweet story. We then have Konosuba, God's Blessing on This Wonderful World by basically Natsume Akatsuki Key because that's the original story maker, but there's other people making this as well. This is the manga. It was really a light novel, I believe, and it's also an anime. I love the anime. It's like the most hilarious thing, and sadly I didn't enjoy this as much as the anime. Like, it's not like I didn't like it and I really do want to continue the series. It's just that the humor felt much more authentic and funny in the anime. It really came across harder. Here it was really quick. Like, we are really far into the story already in the manga, and now I'm just really curious about the light novel, how that really is, because that's like the original, and I really want to check that out if it's ever been translated or when I'm fluent enough in Japanese to read it myself. It's not bad at all. It went by so quickly, and I feel like the jokes and like everything else would just pull out more in the anime, and I want more of the anime, but I don't think it's coming more, and it's really sad. But again, recommend so much, and it's just fun, so funny and hilarious, and it's just the most wonderful thing, and I am excited to continue the series because then I can actually see where the story will go compared to the anime, because that just ended in the middle of nowhere and I'm sad. I also read Bungo Stray Dogs Volume 9 about Kafka Asagiri and Sango Harukuva. I read a lot of manga after one another just because I read a manga after each book I read, unless it is for challenges or readathons, and I had to catch up because I hadn't read mangas after books for a while. That made sense for anyone but me. This one follows an armed detective who has like people with abilities. They have taken in this dude here who was an orphan. They saw like really weird cases when other people with abilities are involved, and I just love it so much. I want to rewatch the anime again now, which will be my third watch, which isn't that much, but who cares. This actually ended the arc that I have seen so far in anime. Like, there's no more anime anymore. If this volume is released before the next season, I will be ahead of the anime, which I've never been before, and that will be really strange. A lot of fighting in this one is really good. In this part of the arc of the story, we are like in this war with this other organization, and it's the best. And I want to go rewatch it now. I had forgotten I wanted to, and now I remembered. The next book I read was Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. When I started this, I didn't actually think I was going to read more than this and maybe another manga, because I counted the days left of the month and I was like, I will use at least 2 weeks on this book, but then I read it in 3 days, and that's after that I just read a billion books. So my reading this month was so unpredictable and strange. This is the 6th book in the Throne of Glass series, and this is like more side story-ish, but not really. Like, it's important, you should read it, don't skip it. But this is Kale's book when he goes to the Southern Continent after the events of Queen of Shadows. This is happening at the same time as Empire of Storms, and really it's a lot of world building in this. It feels a bit long because it is long. I feel like some parts of the story was maybe not necessary, but definitely heartbreaking. I cared so much of what was happening on this page. I love some parts of this story, especially the royal family. Just, they had my heart, I'm telling you. But the romance and all that was very predictable, which is very Sarah, but that's fine. But there were things revealed in this book which is so important for Kingdom of Ash, which I am hoping to reach in February, or I will definitely read it in March, we will see. I cried reading this. It was really emotional, and I think the ending was really powerful, especially, and that the choices Sarah made there was actually the good ones. I have goosebumps right now thinking about this book. It was really good, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I enjoyed it immensely. And I'm surprised that I read it that quickly, because it's big and I read Sarah slowly. I need some water because I've been talking so much. Just give me a moment. My parents are home. I wonder if they can hear me just babbling a lot down in my room. Attack on Titan Volume 10 by Hajime Isayama. This is Volume 10 in Attack on Titan. That was like so obvious and I didn't need to say it. Attack on Titan follows basically humanity fighting for survival because titans are eating them, but it's like about so much more on that later. It's like political and secrets and a lot of other things, and it's so dramatic and I love it. This one here has like one of the biggest reveals of, like, I was gonna say the century, of the whole series, and it's so like in the most casual and funniest way, and I just can't believe he did that choice. It's really interesting, and I love it. Like, I know what's gonna happen happen because I watched anime, but I love reading the mangas or like the other way around anyway, and I am just enjoying this series a lot, and I'm so looking forward to reading on with this series and eventually maybe one day actually catch up or at least finish it. We then have Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor, and this is the second and final book in the Strange to Dreamer duology. As I showed you guys, I read Strange to Dreamer for my God of Things for Winter Challenge, but after I finished that I was like, I need to read Muse of Nightmares now. I cannot wait. I usually wait a long time before reading sequels, but no, I had to read it at once. I knew that I was gonna read Tower of Dawn this month, and if I had time I would pick up this one, and I did have time because, you know, my reading went crazy, and it was so beautiful. Okay, it follows Laszlo Strange, who is like had this obsession with this city named Weep, but that's not its name, and it's like a mystical city that sort of disappeared magically, and he's like obsessed with it, and there's like this whole question about what happened to it, and of course we get the answer to that, and there's like gods and monsters and magic, and just I don't have words. Like, this here just expands the story in ways that I cannot spoil you, but they are amazing. This story just, it took my breath away. The writing is the most beautiful I've ever written. This whole series is like my favorites this year, even though like I haven't read that much. I don't have coherent thoughts. They were beautiful, and when I talk about it right now, I feel like I'm tearing up because they were seriously like one of the most stunning books I ever read. This is like a masterpiece, and my heart just, they were amazing. I'm gonna buy the audiobook so I can listen to them, because these are words I feel like could be beautifully spoken to me, and I need them. I will probably reread them this year like on audiobook, so no shame on that. I would talk about them more if I could. The next book I read was A Story About Cancer with a Happy Ending by India Desjardins. Sorry. This is an arc that I also got off NetGalley, and it's like a really short graphic novel basically about a girl waiting in the office of the hospital waiting for a result of the latest test because she has cancer, and we get like, while we're waiting, we get flashbacks of how she lived her whole life with cancer, and it's just a really touching and beautiful story. I think it was originally in French, sue me if I'm wrong, but I think that was it. Illustrations were really powerful and sweet, and it was just a really sweet but really short story. It sort of spoils the ending, but that's fine, but it's really hopeful and nice, and I guess that's all I have to say right now about it. We then have Fans Volume 2 by C.S. Pacat and Joanna the Mad. C.S. Pacat is the author of Capra Prince, which is one of my favorite series of all time. This is Volume 2, and I just love this story so much. It's so diverse and beautiful, and it's building up to this romance so slowly. It's like a slow burn. It's just wonderful. It's basically about a bunch of boys and some not boys going to this school for fencing, and they're just like competing. It's like competitive fencing, and I care so much, and I just love this. I gave this 5 stars because I love this so much. I love the characters. I just love what she's creating here, and I want more. Like, now it was too short and I want more. And then this month the Grishaverse TV series was really revealed, and I wanted to read everything in Grishaverse then, of course. I read the Shadow and Bone trilogy, I read Six of Crows duology, and I picked up The Language of Thorns, Midget Tales and Dangerous Magic, which is basically a short story collection with tales set in the different countries and stuff in the Grisha world, and it was just wonderful. I loved it so much. It has illustrations, and illustrations like grow on each page, and then they build into like a full illustration on the last page of each short story, and it was great. This was wonderful. My favorite story, I think, was the first or last one, because they were great. Okay, they were great. We then have Tokyo Ghoul Volume 5 by Sui Ishida. Tokyo Ghoul basically follows ghouls who are basically humans, just that they eat human flesh, and they are really like discriminated and put down upon and hunted down in the government and the society. But yeah, I have watched anime and I loved it, at least the first season. I still haven't watched the newest one, but I really do enjoy the story. It's really weird because this is so far behind in like what I remember, and also like I didn't remember much before this because it's a while since I read the last one, so it put me a bit off not remembering everything and all the details, and I know that's my own fault. I do still like enjoy it a lot, and there was also this side short story here character that was not in the anime, or maybe it's like an extra or something, and that was really interesting. Enjoying this series, looking forward to continue getting further in where like I'm not already known to it. Looking forward to maybe not wait so long between each volume I read. Bad for me. I then read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Tyler Jenkins Reid, which is like one of the most hyped book of the century, I was gonna say. Everyone loves this, and I was like, I guess I would just read it now then, since I was apparently in a really big reading mood, as we can tell. So this story basically follows Monique, who is a journalist, and she's hired by Evelyn Hugo to basically write her biography. And the thing is that Monique isn't like big shot in like the journalist world, so why is she chosen for this job? And that's like a question we question ourselves throughout the book. And Evelyn Hugo, we basically get her whole life story, and it is marvelous. She talks about all her 7 husbands, and I thought that some of it was just the hilariousiest thing, but like there's so much other themes going on here. Evelyn Hugo is also bisexual. There's an FF romance in this, just so you are aware. And the story is just great. It is full of heartbreak and beautifulness, and also just like this plot twist. Wow. I was impressed, and I enjoyed it a lot. But I felt like I didn't love it as much as I thought I would, just because there was so much hype, and I know hype sometimes can not ruin the story but give you really high expectations. But I did enjoy it immensely, and it's definitely something I would recommend for anyone. It's really different from what I usually read, and I enjoyed it a lot, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And then read Tencount Volume 6 by Rihito Takarai. I think this is the last Tencount volume we will get, at least of the main story. Tencount basically follows Shirotani, who has germophobia, and he meets this psychiatrist, and they make this list of 10 things that he wants to be able to do to get over his germophobia, and that's why it's called Tencount. But they also get this thing. This is the 6th volume, and their relationship is super strange because they go back and forth wanting to be together, and then they're not, and then they can't be together, and then they can be together, and it's all really much. And it's not my favorite story, actually. I just wanted to finish it, and yeah, yaoi manga is fine, but I just felt like the story wasn't really that good, and it also has some struggles with consent between of them, and I didn't really like that. So yeah, I am done with it now, and it was okay, I guess. Okay, since I was like in the biggest reading mood, I was also in the biggest audiobook mood, and I actually managed to finish a Wheel of Time audiobook in 1 month. I usually use up to 3 to 6 months on one audiobook of Wheel of Time, but I finished one in like 16 days, and I'm like, I am still mind blown, just so you're aware. We have here A Crown of Swords by Robert Jordan. This is the 7th book in the Wheel of Time series. I am like so tempting to make full-length reviews of all the books in this series, 1 video for each, because I feel like there's nothing happening but still so much to talk about. I don't even know, it would just be funny for me, I guess. This just continues the story with the Wheel of Time. It follows like a billion characters, and they are bullying up to fight the Dark One in this land, so you know, he won't poop on everyone. I tried to think about the story, what happened. I don't really know what happened, but it wasn't bad. It was just a bit like, okay, it was there. It felt like a lot of a filler book. It felt like it just building up to a lot of things, just setting pieces in place, and that's mostly Wheel of Time, I guess. It has a final and shit happens, but I don't know, it's quite short compared to the other ones. There's only 700 pages, so banana. I read The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. This is her 2nd release, and it follows Molly, who has had 27 crushes, but none of them has been returned. Maybe like Molly's thinking that's her own fault because she never tries to go out to actually reach those crushes, and now she is meeting this guy named Will, who's like the best friend of her twin sister's current girlfriend, so it would be perfect if they're together. And she also starting to get this crush of a guy she works with in her store, and it has like a bunch of diversity. As I said, her sister's gay, she has 2 moms, so it's just great. The story just reads so easy, and it is filled with beautiful and witty dialogue, and the plot was just cute. It's just really just Molly coming to terms with herself, getting out of her shell. I really enjoyed this one. I really enjoy Becky Albertalli's writing. It's just easygoing and sweet, and Molly is also plus size, so that's really nice. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Enjoyed it a lot. Very sweet contemporary novel that I read super quickly. We then have Your Name Volume 1, which I borrowed from my best friend, and it's basically by Makoto Shinkai. This is really a movie, and then they made a manga, of course, because it was so popular. This follows Mitsuha, who is living in this really small town, and she doesn't really live there anymore. She is really tired of the small time life, and then she just wants to live in a big town, and then suddenly she wakes up in the body of a guy living in Tokyo, and the guy living in Tokyo, Taki, he wakes up in her body, and they keep switching bodies when they sleep, and I don't know why. And yeah, that's basically the story, and I just get goosebumps thinking about it because it is great. This is like a manga of the movies. I knew everything was gonna happen, but I enjoyed it a lot still, and I want to read the rest, and I want to rewatch the movie again. This movie has the best soundtrack of like all time. If you don't want to watch a movie, just listen to the soundtrack, and then you will want to watch the movie anyway. A really, really powerful story, but I don't want to spoil it because it really keeps you guessing and dying. We are soon nearing the end, I swear. The next one we have here is P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han. This is the sequel to All the Boys I Loved Before, and the second movie was announced, so I was like, I need to get to reading the rest of the series, so I have read all of them so I can watch the movies with good conscience when they are finally released. This just continued the story of Lara Jean, who in the first book all her love letters were sent out that she never intended to send to anyone, and then now it deals with her life going on, and it's a really sweet and nice book. But I don't know, I'm not like mind blown it, but it's really sweet. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I am not convinced by Peter anymore. In the movie he's super sweet, but here I am questioning him and if he is the right choice for Lara. I'm serious, and I think like it was initially planned to just be 2 books, and then the 3rd book came to a surprise as everyone. But I feel like this really leaves off in a question ending, and I feel like the 3rd book was the right choice because I was really happy knowing that a 3rd book would be, because even though it ends, I feel like I would want more and just really come to terms if Peter is the right choice for her, or is he, or isn't he, I don't know. I then read Ajin by Gamon Sakurai, and this is the 4th volume in the series. It's so weird because I've been watching the anime and I'm so far ahead. This is so far behind, but I just love it. It's full of action. Ajins are people who can't die. They look like us, but they can't die, and they can make these things here that like can fight for them. The government hunts them for experiments, and there's this one dude named Sato who is like, I want rights for the Ajin. He's basically a terrorist trying to fight for the rights, but does he really want the rights? I think he just likes to be a terrorist. And we have the main character who is like gonna fight him and stuff. Really nice. I want more. Let's be real. We then have 1,000 Perfect Notes by CG Juice, who is also known as Paper Fury in the book communities. She makes the best tweets and has beautiful pictures on Instagram. This is her debut novel, and it follows Beck, who is abused by his mother, forced to play the piano. She's basically living her dream through him and wants him to, you know, be famous pianist. I can't pronounce things. Then he meets August, who is full of sunshine and cakes and nice things, and he realizes that he doesn't want this life, and will he fight for it. And this story is beautiful. It was so good. I loved it. I love how it was written. I love the characters. They felt so real. I felt so much pain reading this. The ending was just crushing, and I am so in awe of this, and I'm so excited for her new release. It really captured me, and I gave it like 5 out of 5 stars because I loved it, because why not? It really just is filled with wonder but pain, and I just loved it. I also read Peeling Off the Woods by May K. Nguyen, which is an arc. This was a graphic novel as well. This followed Willow, who basically has a fight with her sister. Willow runs out into the forest, and then she meets basically a tree spirit, and then she follows her home, and it's just about dealing with pain and loss. And the illustrations are cute and beautiful, and it was really, really sweet and short. Really comes to terms with dealing with your demons in like a really nice way. We have Bloom Into You by Nakatani Neo, and this basically follows you, who always wanted like our big start romance, but she doesn't really feel it. Then she starts to help in a student council office where she meets Nanami, and then Nanami is like falling in love with her, but it's you finally finding true love, and we'll see. It really leaves you guessing, and I don't know what's gonna happen. It was really interesting. They're not at once into each other, and it's really interesting, and I'm interested to see how it would build up and if they actually like will up together. And the last book I read in January is You Be Mine by Erin Han. This was also an arc, and this is an YA contemporary novel following Corey, who is like a country pop star artist, and he is not behaving really well, so the label wants him to go and scout out this girl named Annie, whose parents were like super famous, and they want her because like she would get in the cash, right? And she also has great talent, and they go on to this summer tour together. They fall in love, woohoo. The story was really predictable, and I didn't really like the writing, so the story just felt really flat for me. I felt like it could have been really good and cute, but it wasn't my kind of tea. I don't like that expression, but whatever. Not the worst, but not like the best either. I read it and I enjoyed some parts. The characters had really interesting backstories, but that was all I really liked about it. Sorry, gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, my voice is dying because I've been talking for such a long time. I bet this video is forever long, but do you expect me to talk quickly about 30 books? I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed listening to me talk about the billion books. I am really proud of myself this month, and February is the Book 2 Games and Blackathon. I'm gonna have a really great time, and I hope you enjoyed, and tell me down below some books you read in January or some of your thoughts on any of these. Bye!